What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Retro Hoop Collectibles. This is another podcast style episode. I'm really digging doing these because we're bringing in some other people and talking some other stuff. This episode is with my guy Ty from Bench Clear Media. If you guys aren't familiar with Bench Clear Media, I'll leave all the links and all the descriptions and everything down below. So you guys can check them out. I would say on the Fly with Mike and Ty is probably the only piece of hobby content on YouTube that I consume regularly. I very rarely miss an episode. And so they're just, all around, it seem like very genuine guys. I really enjoy the content. They're very knowledgeable. Mike is very knowledgeable in vintage, and Ty is kind of like myself. We're right around the same age, so he's into basketball and vintage and 90s stuff, and so we got into a little bit in that of that in the chat, but mainly he's here to promote a project that he's got going on. It's called Chasing Cardboard. It's on YouTube, and essentially, if you guys are familiar with American Pickers on Discovery. And, if you're like me and you consume a lot of automotive content, there's a show called Chasing Classic Cars, which is, one of my favorite shows that I like watching. This content is very much in that style, but it's all about sports cards and all about chasing cardboard, which is the namesake of the channel. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into that, I'm going to have you guys kind of check out the trailer. Again, all the links and for all the YouTube channels and everything that's associated with Ty and with Bench Clear Media, I'll leave all that below. We're gonna check out the trailer for Chasing Cardboard. There's already like 2 or 3 episodes out there. I actually shot this with Ty last week sometime, so it's a little dated, but not too much. So we'll watch the trailer, and then we'll get right into the episode with Ty. So. Hope you guys like it. Check it out. Leave me a link in the leave me a comment down below, and let me know what you guys think. Appreciate it.
The history of sports cards goes back over 100 years. We are on the pursuit to find the biggest and most interesting sports card collections hiding in basements and attics across the United States. Join us as we travel the large interstates and the narrow, unpaved roads and pull out all of the stops in our journey to continue chasing cardboard.
All right, so today we are here in the big state of Texas, and we are looking for big cards and hopefully some big collections. We have some things lined up. Oh, I love the smell of vintage. Came in, I was able to get this 1963 Mickey Mantle. Since you still buy cards, what's kind of your current take on the sports card market?
So tell me a little bit about the cards. I can't wait to dig into these with you.
How did you get the collection in? So is this a combination of you buying over the course of the last 2 decades?
He was going around and doing what I do now, and that's buying collections. How long did that take? 2.5 hours?
2.5 hours later, huh?
There we go. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Retro Hoop Collectibles. This is we're going for 2 episodes today where we actually got people on. We just did the one with my brother for Star Wars. We got another special guest tonight. This is actually a pretty good episode because the first time that I ever got invited to be on anybody else's channel was with our guest today. And I remember thinking to myself, I had to read the email like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, are they contacting the right person? Why would they want me on their show? So I always, anytime these guys call me up, anytime Mike calls me up, or anytime Ty calls me up, I'm always wherever, whenever, drop what I'm doing. Let's have a chat. So without further ado, here is Ty from Bench Clear Media. Sir, how are you doing?
You crack me up, man. Can I just say that your hair has gotten grayer since you started the channel?
It absolutely has, but you know what, though? It has nothing to do with the channel, and it has everything to do with my 3-year-old daughter. So, I blame them for that. 100%. I hear you. 100%. Dude, first of all, you have been a very busy man the last couple of weeks. With everything that's going on. You've been all over the place. You got a show coming out, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Ever since you guys reached out, right? Ever since you reached out, I was kind of doing some research on who was sending me an email to be on their show. I absolutely fell in love with On the Fly, and I've pretty much binged every episode and caught up on every episode since. That is like, I don't consume a lot of content.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a content creator thing,
I
but
think
folks,
so.
I think it is because I really, it's not that I try to avoid any of it, but the algorithm just feeds me different stuff because I'm completely scatterbrained. But I've watched every episode, and funny story, I actually went to my first card show, was the Dallas card show recently, and I went in, walked around, did the whole show and all that stuff. I had some commitment, so I had to come back. But that night, I think it was Friday night, I was leaving, getting into the parking lot, and then somebody pulled up to me and they were like, "Hey, Omar," and I'm like, "What? Like, what happened?" And I turned around and I couldn't quite see because they were in their car, and then I was like, "Oh, holy shit, that's Mike! That's Mike from On the Fly." I was so starstruck, dude. Like, I got so starstruck, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's Mike!" And he was cool. He's like, "Hey, man, are you here?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving, but are you coming back tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kind of try." So I didn't really get a chance to sit down and talk to him, but I was super starstruck when I ran into Mike in the parking lot of all things.
That is funny. That is funny.
So let's get into this show that you have coming out. Or actually, it's already out, right? It's already out. First episode's
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I caught the trailer. Give me the rundown on what it is, where we can find it, how long you've been doing it, because this thing is like a legitimate show,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
it's legit. Yeah, so we've obviously been doing content for a long time,
Yep.
but we probably 9 months ago, I had a conversation with Matt, who's the guy. He's the brains behind all the camera work and producing. He's just an amazing dude. Super, super talented.
Yeah.
The brainchild behind all this chasing cardboard stuff was, "Hey, Ty, why don't we take like the American Pickers concept and bring it to the card world?
Yep.
What do you think about that?" And so we chewed on it for months. And then end of the year, we said, "All right, here's what we think it'll cost. Let's go try it."
Right.
And we did our first multi-weekend trip into Houston, your hometown.
I
And
noticed that.
yeah, we'll talk about that here in a sec because uh some of the cards I sent you came from that. I thought about you when I'm going through these. I'm like, Omar's gonna dig this. But yeah, we went all out. We filmed a full-on episode that we made for TV. Like we
Nice.
made it so that we could go to History Channel or Discovery and say, "Hey, you want to get in the card market?
Right.
We're ready for you."
Yeah. Nice. And
So
is
we're
that the
3 episodes in.
that's the general premise, right? Is to
Yeah.
you guys are driving around. I saw I saw in the first episode. I mean, you had literally an SUV pulling a trailer. I mean, you're ready to buy. You're out there buying.
Yeah. We are out there buying it.
Nice.
And
And you're targeting like big collections. You're hitting what's the chase here?
yeah, the idea is to take someone on the journey of what it's like to be a passionate collector. Like go all out to chase cards.
Right.
So each episode, you'll notice in this first 3 episode season, and we're doing like little small seasons,
Yeah.
each episode's a little different. Like some we go buy collections like episode 1, some we go to see collections and we don't complete the transaction and
Mm,
something else happens. And then the third one, spoiler alert, we go to like some card shows and we go to like a city where
ah,
there's nothing to see and we just try to find stuff. And so
nice.
we're just dabbling in all this, the stuff that guys like you and I like. We love this stuff. Like
Yeah.
we dream about this stuff.
Yeah. I did. You guys went to an antique shop, and I think the antique mall that you went to was in Houston, wasn't it? In this first episode, right?
Yeah.
I know exactly where that antique shop is, and I know exactly the booth that you stopped in because that booth, that actually that antique shop, my wife and I, we took kind of like a, you do the like the in town vacations, right? Like where you take a couple
Yeah.
days off and because we're kind of on the outskirts, so like we actually went in town and did the whole thing, and she's like, "Oh, I want to go to this antique shop," and I'm like, that sounds like music to my ears because that's exactly what I go every antique shop. You made a point in one of those videos or in a segment in that video where you said antique shops and antique malls are a great place to go look for cards because there's not a lot of foot traffic there, not a lot of people there. There is always some type of sports memorabilia, especially if you're in an antique mall where people they don't necessarily. It's not like there's a store there, right? They people go in there, they set up
Yeah.
booths,
Yeah.
and then they put prices on everything, and then those people lease out those booths. They're not there all the time. People they don't go there and man their booth. The booth is just sitting there, and oftentimes they'll just put a general sign, 30% off for this weekend, everything in this booth.
Yeah.
And if you catch a sports memorabilia, there's in every antique mall that I've been into, there's always at least 3 to 4, depending on the size of the antique mall. There's always at least 3 or 4 booths that are filled with nothing but sports memorabilia. I mean, any piece of memorabilia that you see back here that's not a card, I've always gotten from either a swap or a flea market
Yeah.
or an antique mall, and
Wow.
that is such a kind of like a honey hole that not a lot of people really think about because everybody immediately thinks about sports card shops, the LCSs, the card
Yeah.
shows, and stuff like that. It did. Is that something that you saw a lot of as you went into
Yeah.
these little holes?
Yeah, we would swing by a lot of antique stores, and a little tip for the wise, right? People think like the sticker price is the price,
Huh.
and if they don't have a booth sale, like you're not going to get a deal. Like all you have to do is go up to the clerk and say, "Hey, what's the best you can do on this today?" And they literally call the owner
Yes.
of that booth,
Yes.
and that guy's not looking at the card. He's not
Right.
emotionally attached,
Right.
so he's like, "Give it to him for 40% off."
Well, he's definitely not emotionally attached if he's not manning his own booth.
For sure.
If he
For
got to the
sure.
point to where he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave this stuff here, and whoever wants to come buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you walked away with a Mickey Mantle out of there, didn't you?
I did. I mean, some crazy vintage we walked away with.
Man,
They were awesome.
yeah,
And they're
yeah.
all over.
They're
They're all
everywhere.
over.
They're everywhere. And I mean, before, even before I got back into sports cards, when me and my wife first got married, I mean, I was always into memorabilia, so I have a ton of memorabilia aside from the cards themselves. So even when we were living in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, the idea was always to get a house, and we were saving towards that. So I was always finding little things going, okay, well, that's gonna go in my future like office or man cave and stuff like that. So I'm
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
buying stuff, and they all the good stuff came from either antique stores, antique malls, places like that you would never go into. Little grandma hutches with, tea sets and china and stuff like that. There's always a little nook in there somewhere that has either memorabilia or sports cards, and people don't think about that stuff.
You nailed it.
But that's what you're exposing in this series that you got going on, which is dope.
I know. We better run out to the antique stores quick and snag them while we
I know.
can.
Well, luckily, I'm, this isn't, Jake Paul's YouTube channel. So, you know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna, I think
That's
our
true.
secret is safe for at least a little bit. Once Gary
Yeah,
Vee starts talking about going to the antique malls, we're screwed.
Yeah.
We're going to be completely screwed. Did Mike come with you on this since he was in Texas?
No, he's playing a kind of a role in the show as the vintage expert. He kind of comes in, I dial him into certain calls and part of deals. So he's playing that role. He didn't travel a lot with us, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
He's got, and then Tyson makes an appearance in episode 3. It's good. It's building out the way we were hoping. I guess guys like you will tell me if it's good. Yeah.
And the episodes are coming out every, what's the frequency? Every week?
Once every week on Monday. So
okay.
I don't know when this is airing, but it just came out this past week, and then we have another one next Monday and the following Monday.
Okay. So so you sent me a message yesterday, right? In the Monday. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So Monday. Yeah, so this will air probably Friday. Today's Tuesday, Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right? I'm losing my
How sad
days
is that? We don't even know the days anymore.
Oh, it's not. I don't sleep. Yeah, today's Wednesday, so this will come out Friday the 6th. So Monday the 9th is the next episode. Then
there you go.
After that. Cool, man. Cool.
Well, and we're giving away a bunch of cash too. So we hid little codes in the episodes. Matt played around with some editing, and we hid some things in the episodes that you have to pay attention to see. And then over the course of the episodes, we actually released these clue videos for people to identify what these codes are. And the first one to
Ah,
solve all 9 clues, all 9 codes, we're going to give $2,000 in cash to.
look at that.
And then Panini came in and said, "Hey, we'll give you guys some gear and some boxes to give away as prizes as well." It's going to be pretty legit. So
It
check it out.
Dude, not only that, so I noticed maybe like a couple of weeks, I would say. I think I'm trying to remember what card show you guys went to where it was you, Mike, and a couple of the other guys.
Oh, in Missoula, Montana. Yeah.
Mizzou, there you go, Montana. That's right. That's what it was. And you guys were ripping some stuff from Panini, and you guys had, I think somebody had mentioned that you guys had kind of got in contact with Panini, and I was thinking to myself, man, that's gonna be pretty legit. You guys got some pretty big sponsors on this thing, right? I mean, like one of the things that I noticed is, so when I first got back into cards, it was a while before I discovered card breaks.
Yeah.
And my first introduction to a card break, the very first break that I got into was top shelf breaks.
Really?
The very first one with
Chris, yeah.
with CK, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, he was, I'll never forget this. I remember watching the video, and I found, like, after digging and figuring out how card breaks work, I had no idea, right? I think I had bought like the Texans and like a 2018 select. I mean, the Texans were garbage. There was no reason to buy, but it was like $15. I was like, screw it. So I jumped in on that one, and then I jumped in on a couple random ones and stuff like that. But I'll never forget, I was watching it on YouTube, and I guess he had some kind of royalty free playlist or something like that, or something going. And I'll never forget that he had Tribe Called Quest playing in the background, which is like total, like the purest hip hop of the purest hip hop. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm looking, what Chris looks like, right? I'm like looking at him, and I'm like, why is this guy playing? Like, it makes no sense, right, for him to be playing hip hop, like legitimate hip hop in the background. And then he starts playing some other stuff, and they're like, and I'm just like, holy crap. I was hooked. From then on, I was hooked. So the only breaks that I've ever gotten in are top shelf breaks with him. And then I was watching the video that you guys did release the first episode, and that's one of the sponsors on the show. And I don't know why, but that lent such an air of legitimacy to the video that I was watching. I was like, hey, I know, that's dope that you guys were on the same page. What other sponsors that you guys have coming into that you could talk about if you can?
Yeah, totally can. And that's the great thing about being in the hobby a long time, right? Interviewing these
Right.
guys on Breaker Culture and Bench Clear for years is you get to know the really good guys. Marcel
Yeah.
from the Awesome Card Shop, PJ from Collectible Kings, Peter from SGC
Yep.
came behind this and saw the episode and said, "We love what you're doing. Like, we would love
Nice.
to be a part of this." And then of course Chris from Top Shelf, awesome guys in the hobby.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Wow. So Peter saw the episode and was like, hey, I don't know how, but we're in.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I'm an SGC guy. Like, I love SGC, the way they handle things. And I sent it to Peter ahead of time, and I just said, "Hey man, like, I would love for you to be a part of it because I want to represent you the best I can." We show a lot of SGC slabs anyway. So regardless, we're gonna show it.
Yeah.
But Peter's such a good guy, and wants to be a part of the good things in the hobby. And so he came behind it. So it was great.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I had my my interview with him, which was, I don't know, I guess career achievement for me. I don't know. I don't, I mean, like, if you can even call this a career. I suppose you could if you wanted to. But when they reached out and they were like, hey, Peter's a big fan of your, and I'm thinking, once again, I'm doing this thing where I'm like, are you calling the right person here? Are you sure you didn't mean to call somebody else? Because like, I just got my own little corner over here of YouTube where I'm making my little videos in peace. I didn't really expect for a big dog like that to know who I was.
Stop. You know how awesome you are. Don't even act like that.
But
you're incredible, man.
It's literally a thing where it's almost surreal sometimes, where I'm getting these phone calls and I'm like, what? Like, are you sure you dialed the right number, kind of thing? And man, I remember just kind of working up to it. My wife was like, hey, you seem kind of worked up about this. You all right? I was like, I'm just nervous as hell. I don't know. I mean, this is, man, could not have been the nicest guy. We had such a technical screw up for like the first 30 minutes. I couldn't hear what he was saying. He stuck it out, man. I was literally expecting him to go, you know what, dude? Pff, amateur hour. We'll Dude, he was the best, man. He even brought in his IT guys, and finally we figured it out. But dude, it was that he could not be the nicest guy. I think that and the way the interview went was amazing. So it's good to see him kind of step behind, and it's almost part of his pedigree, isn't it? Like that's like his DNA, right? To step into stuff like this,
Yeah. I think that's what makes him so unique.
right?
He's incredibly nice, but he's super sharp and strategic with the way he thinks about involving himself in the hobby
Yeah,
and representing SGC.
yeah, yeah.
It's
The
just
way that he,
I'm impressed.
yeah, the way that he wants to, yeah, you're right. It's very strategic, but not in a kind of like, I guess I don't want to say a scammy way, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
he's very intentional about
Yeah.
where he wants to put the SGC name, and where he wants to kind of position that company and what he wants it to represent. And I think it could not be the best thing for them. And it's exciting to hear that he's kind of jumping on board with what you guys got going on. So that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
What was your biggest pickup from the whole trip in? I'll say Houston just in general because that's where you guys were primarily in the first episode, right?
Yeah, it was exclusive. No, it wasn't exclusive. There was some Dallas stuff kind of wrapped in there a little bit, some
Okay.
scenes, but yeah, it was mostly Houston.
Biggest pickup.
The Griffey refractor I got
All
was
that.
pretty legit. Like that was a great card. And it's gonna grade well. It's still being graded now through
Really?
SGC. Yeah. I think that's gonna come back at 9.5 or 10. I think.
Wow.
Uh and that's a multi-$1,000 card, which is crazy, right? You don't
It,
think about it.
yeah.
You're like, it's a Griffey refractor, it's 8 years after his rookie.
Yeah. But still, I mean, look at Tom Brady refractors now. I mean, just Tom
Yeah.
Brady refractor, forget about it, right? I mean, especially anything Patriots jersey, it doesn't matter. 2, 3 years removed, 4 years removed, 5 years removed for his rookie year. Doesn't matter, man. I mean, same thing with Jordan. Jordan refractors doesn't matter. They're still pulling in. They're still pulling in big money, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. That as long as the card is there, especially back then, what were refractors like? One in every 320 packs, or
You're right.
3,200 packs. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
talking about a 32 count box, you're talking about you're having to rip through 10 or maybe 15 cases, to get a refractor. That's insane. And that's
Yeah.
all you got to do is look at the odds and realize, oh, that's why that card's a couple $1,000.
Yeah. It's hard for new collectors to think about that. It's
Right.
not numbered, so it must be overprinted,
Exactly.
That's what they're used to.
Yes.
But you go to like 93 finest and 94 finest, and there's like less than 500 total
Yes,
refractors. It's like they don't
yes,
know that unless you do a little like history lesson for them.
exactly, exactly. And you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because during Peter and Mike's interview, um, one of the things that I can't think of or if it was Mike or if it was Peter that said it, but he mentioned something about like trying to be a steward to the vintage market and get people to understand that, like, hey, there's some cool stuff here, right? Like
Yeah.
there's like, okay, I get the razzle dazzle of the new stuff, right? Because I'm in it too. I love it too. I'm chasing a 1920 Prism Rainbow that has like 53 parallels. Like I'm doing that because I'm a collector. But I get that. I get the allure, the shininess, the beauty. I get all of that. But take a step back 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. There's some stuff there that is objectively rare as well, right? Just by pure print run or by whatever exclusivity, even if it was a very unique way of delivering the card itself. I'll give you a good example. I just did a video a few minutes ago, or actually earlier today. If I can find, I must have put it away somewhere. Anyway, one of the most overprinted sets, 1990, 1991 Skybox, the poo poo brown borders.
Yeah.
It is your quintessential junk wax era basketball set, right?
Yeah.
You can buy boxes for $20, or you used to be able to buy them for $20. They're like 50, $60 now. But you can rip tons and tons and tons of that stuff for really cheap, have fun if you know the players, all that good stuff. There's not really much collectible wise to get from that, other than maybe snagging up Jordan and then have it grade out of 10. And then that's the rarity, right? The rarity is that you get one in good condition. People don't know. I just did a video about this, and it'll probably drop out. There's an entire prototype set of that set that came out that was only given to local card shops. And in that prototype set, there is a Jordan prototype that looks nothing like the regular overprinted set. There's not many of these out there because they were only given to LCSs as selling sheets, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that in this realm of junk wax that everybody thinks is junk, there's little gems like that.
Yeah.
And if you find them, there's rarity in that. And if you talk about them and you educate people on them, there's value in that. And that's, one of the things that Mike and Peter were talking about is trying to educate people on that. And that actually inspired me because I was like, man, I need to start making more content about the namesake of my channel, which is Retro Hoops, that I don't really do a whole lot of. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the views aren't that well, they don't do that well, but I don't really care. It was never about views to begin with, to be honest with you.
Yeah, to that point, it's tough because sometimes you'll put out content and they'll get a lot of views.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh,
yeah,
that was nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I should do that again. And then, before long, right? You're putting out 4 or 5 episodes of stuff you don't even really care about, but you're doing it because you know it gets views. And that's a trap you hate falling into as a content creator.
It really sucks, man, because, a lot of my run up in subscribers and stuff came whenever I was dogging out PSA because of what was going on at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still going on. I say at the time, it's still going on. And a lot of people were gravitated towards my content because of that. And my feelings in my videos were legitimate feelings. But we're talking about almost a year removed from the first time I ever did a video about PSA being crap. And I'm still a little upset about it, but I'm nowhere near as upset as I was a year ago. I've almost let it go, right? I mean, I've honestly let it go, but then I kind of felt like I was getting to a point to where I was really pushing myself to hate PSA more than I actually did, just to run the content. And I didn't want to do that anymore. That's why I stopped doing the update videos. I stopped doing a lot of the stuff that was kind of surrounded by that. And I mean, I don't know if you fall into that same thing, but it seems like a really easy, slippery slope to get caught into.
Yeah, it is, right? You create this persona and then you feel like you have to live up to it. Very, very much so. It's funny. People recently, look, there's a balance, right? Because you want to put out good content. You want to be honest with yourself, but you also want to get views. That's the point. You want people to watch it. So you have to do things like create cool thumbnails and create titles, right? Like you have to create this title, like, is this the greatest sports TV show ever? Right? Sports card. Like you have to do that stuff to get people to click on it.
You just wrote it for me. That's great. I don't have to think about that. Great.
But like, and we're getting nailed by people now. Are like, hey, that's a little clickbaity. I'm like, but you watched it and you liked it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not clickbait if when you click on it, you're happy to get into the content, right?
Yeah.
It's only clickbait if you click on it and was like, well, this isn't as cool as the title said it was gonna be, right? But I have yet to click on anything Bench Clear Media and go, well, that was just a waste of my time.
Well, thank you.
And it's always, it's all, but then you can't call it clickbait, right? Because then it was worth the click, and that's kind of where I'm stuck is like, I don't want to be clickbaity, but then at the same time, I'd like to have the clicks. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the ad revenue is all based off of that. That's, half of the reason why we do what we do, but it just so happens that we have something that we're passionate and talking about in the middle of all that. So
people don't realize we need that for that $220 in YouTube revenue for the month.
Man, hey, that is gas money right now. Let me tell you, my wife drives a Suburban. That's gas money.
Oh man. Oh boy.
What are you guys paying for $1 for a gallon of gas out there?
Out in Idaho, we're up to $4.40.
Oh, okay. I can't complain too much then. I can't.
Yeah, complain. And I drive an F350, so it isn't fun.
Oh, and you got diesel, so diesel's actually even more, isn't it?
I have the unleaded version.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's bad. Either way,
yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, because I think we're like at 3.5 right now. So I can't.
What?
I guess I can't complain too much.
Well, it's basically going straight from the ground to your car out there in Texas.
That is very true. or at least straight from the refinery to the car. But yeah,
Right.
literally pull up at Phillips 66 refinery down in Pasadena and fill her up.
It's like you're sitting outside the Panini factory just collecting cards off the press. You're just filling your car right out of the ground.
No. Don't even cut it. I got scissors. Just load it up in the back on the pallet. Don't even cut it. Got scissors. I'll take care of my own centering. Thank you.
Yeah. You talk about cutting cards. I had some, I had 1961, 1962 postcards. They were like cut out of the cereal boxes, the Mantles, the Mutuals, very popular cards back in the day, but you send those off to get graded. And many times they come back as altered.
Yes.
As miscut. And I'm like, guys, how else do you stinking get those off the cereal box? You have to cut them. Why are you grading them like that? It drives me nuts.
Okay. I'm glad you said that. And I didn't want to pull this out, but I'm going to pull it out because I actually am in the middle of that exact same conundrum for a couple of different reasons. And I'll tell you why. Maybe you can kind of give me some guidance on this, because 1990-91 Panini made a sheet sticker set. Okay. And it only came in a book form, right? So it's a big old sticker sheet, and you have to cut them out yourself. Okay. And when you cut them out, you can potentially cut them too small, right? So I'm trying to cut them to where they're within the sticker, right? Like, I mean, you want them to be decently centered, and you have somewhat control over that to an extent, right? But I sent in to SGC, I sent in maybe like, I don't know, probably a dozen cards. All of them Jordan, all of them Elijah ones. Different variations of Jordan. Some were all stars, some were, a couple of different things. I actually did a video on it. I'll link it up if anybody wants to watch it. But and I got 2 out of the dozen that I sent. I got 2 of them that came back that were within, I guess, a size specification, as well as I had like maybe half of them come back minimum size and the other half come back altered or cut. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how does that work? Because the 2 that they did grade, they graded them as hand cut.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, if they're hand cut, then they're not altered. How does this work? I never understood that. The other problem that I have is with the 1990, actually, no, sorry, it's 89-90 hoops. Once again, this is part of that oddball thing that I like to get into. Sears printed this orange, or this kind of this yellow flooded background one.
Rest in peace, Sears.
It was RIP to Sears and Roebuck. I'm pretty sure half of those executives walked out with a massive golden parachute. I'm sure they're fine. It's little Peggy behind the counter that I'm more concerned about. Shout out to Sears. Right. They released a little small box all-star set that came in these cards here. They are inherently undersized, almost all of them. And I, once again, sent in about a dozen of them, all Jordans and Elijah ones. All of them came back minimum sized. None of them got graded. So now I'm like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with these? Because I didn't alter these. These came like that.
Yeah.
And you just, what do you do?
Yeah. Like to me, the solution is having graders that are more educated.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the solution, because it's not fair. It's just not fair. Some of those cards, there's a lot of small cards. They grade the minis, right? Allen and Ginter, you send in the mini, they grade it, right? But it's frustrating.
Well, even the tobacco era baseball stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, we're talking stamp size, Cracker Jack labels,
Yeah.
But, again, that's part of the whole thing of being a collector, is finding the oddball stuff. And occasionally you find something too oddball to where even the grading companies are like, hey, look here, bucko, we don't know what you did with that, but we want nothing to do with it.
Well, we're not stamping our name on that.
We're not stamping on that, that's right. Yeah, we're not putting our name on that one. We don't know what kind of trimming you're doing over there. You got the blades or whatnot, but we're not messing with that. Hopefully,
though, Omar, if you sent in all those 90-91s and they were perfectly cut, you'd have the FBI on your doorstep
Oh,
investigating Omar. Like, wait a second, how's this dude cutting everything perfectly? It's a lose-lose situation for you.
exactly, exactly. You know, it's what was the guy's name he was on the channel. He used to be PSA collector, and now he's graded card investor or something like that. He switched his names up. He did a whole thing on this where he bought like 50 books of this 91 sticker set that I'm talking about, and literally was showing people how he cuts and how he does everything. He submitted all of his, and all of his came back. I mean, that was kind of the inspiration behind it all, where I was like, oh man, I actually love that set. That's actually a really cool set. I've seen the books before. I did not know that you can cut the sheets like that. I thought that was, obviously cutting and trimming is a big no-no. You don't do that. So I was like, oh, I'm staying away from that. But then when I saw his video, I was like, oh man, how do you, okay, you can actually do that. And then I started realizing that some of these sets are hand cut sets, and you can actually get cards graded that are hand cut and all that stuff. So it
Yeah.
sent me down this journey, and I failed miserably. Miserably.
And you
Miserably.
paid to have each one graded.
I paid to have 2 of them graded. The rest of them I paid to have rejected.
There you go.
And it just, it's it's never a good feeling, but it is what it is. You run across any good basketball while you were out there?
Yeah. Tons of basketball.
You have a devilish grin. What, you got anything good? What'd you find?
Plenty of good stuff. A lot of it's being graded right now, but let me see if I can. I pulled out just real quickly. I'm going to pull out some just stacks of 90s inserts that I have just sitting around from that last Houston buy. And let's see if you can identify a few of these.
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot, bro.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't expect you to get some of these, and some of these are just like, all-time great insert sets.
That's Top Stadium Club.
Nope.
No, that's Fleer.
That's Fleer. Fleer Ultra Rim Rockers, 97, 98. Wow. I mean, the die cuts on those.
Die cuts.
Awesome.
Well, hold on. That's die cut like acetate, isn't it?
No, it's not. It looks like it. It's just a nice little gloss.
Okay. Wow.
How about this? You're gonna like this. So 2000, 2001, the original slams.
Wow, look at that. Bronze acetate. Man, how dope were 90s inserts, man?
So good. This is here's a Houston guy for you. So this would be, I think, 96, 97 Stadium Club.
Clyde the Glide. Look at that, man.
God. So high riders, but these are cool because you feel every part of the card.
They're embossed. So not only are they foil, not only are they really good die cuts and all that stuff, but they're embossed. That's nice.
What about this? Were you Grant Hill guy?
Oh, of course. Grant Hill, you kidding me? Oh, look at that.
The old Skybox Thunders.
Skybox premiums.
Yeah, buddy. Nice. And then the old Skybox Meltdown.
Yeah, look at that.
You got you can see it in the camera. I mean, these are just some of the best inserts of all time. You got the fireworks behind them.
That's nuts.
I'm a sucker for that era. I just love that 100%. Stuff.
100%. Especially with what you see there, what they're producing now. It makes no sense, right? Yeah. It's like, don't get me wrong. What there's some cool stuff out there, with the prism stuff and the chrome cards and all that stuff. That's all cool. That's all fine and dandy. But we're in 2022 right now. I mean, of course, let's make sure that the technology is catching up with what we're trying to produce here. But we're talking about what you just threw up right there: 95, 96, 96, 97, 97, right. 98. I mean, the printing technology that they were using back then to do cards, they're not using the same stuff now. Right. They're just not. And it's kind of like, man, it's kind of disappointing, And that's the kind of stuff that I want to start, doing more of and showing more of in the videos and going over those sets. Because I think they're just as cool. They're just as cool as Purple Explosion. Really? Like, that's it. That's all we got. This is 2022. All we got is Purple Explosion. You can't, you literally just pulled up a card where it looked like Grant Hill's face was melting off. Yeah. And that was from 96. Like, come on. We can't get nothing new. Right.
We're 28 years later. It makes me want to go back and buy the gem mints of these cards. And like, I see why vintage guys go back and like get higher grade cards now. Right. So my eras and your eras are the same. And I'm thinking, I want to go get the highest grade I possibly can of this, Grant Hill Meltdown card.
Yeah. Because, well, not only do you know how special it is, right? But you and I are aware of this phenomenon called bricking,
Yes.
right? So right off the bat, you and I know that half of those cards didn't make it simply because of
Yep.
bricking, right? It's uh like the Ford Mustang, the Hearst Rent Racers. I don't know if you're a car guy at all, but
I'm not.
Hertz bought a bunch of Shelby's, Ford Mustang Shelby's, and put them in as rental cars. Well, the reason why they're so rare is because half of the dummies that were renting those cars had no business in a car that powerful, and they were immediately wrecking them, right? So not very many of them survived. And so that makes the ones that did survive that much more valuable because they're so scarce. It's the same thing with 90s inserts. If you see a 1990, 1989, 1990 card at a PSA 10, I don't care who it is, buy it. Because I
Yeah.
guarantee you there ain't that many out there. The pop counts on those are super low. Simply because if you try to open a box of that stuff now, it's going to brick.
Yep.
It's that simple. And you're just not going to, your chances immediately cut in half of pulling something that's anywhere near gem mint. So I'm
For
with you.
sure. Yeah. Couple that with just the fact that PSA 10 doesn't gem as much anymore, right? Even if you did pull the perfect card.
That bothers the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah. Scratching the wound a little bit here.
Like, that shouldn't even be a factor. Like, and
Yeah.
it's actually one. Are you have a bug in my office? I guarantee you, because I just did a
totally do.
video.
That's why I went to Houston.
I just did a video that specifically talked about one thing that has bothered the hell out of me ever since I got back into, or ever since I discovered, because I got back into cards, but that I didn't really discover grading until like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, of the concept of getting a card graded. And that's this phrase that keeps getting repeated over and over and over again, that the card is hard to grade, right? Oh, yeah, the card didn't do as well as I thought it was. These cards are hard to grade. No, they're not. Cards are not hard to grade. The card is hard to keep in good condition, right? And it sounds like a very minimal thing for me to be so irate about, but I think the language is important because, one, gives grading companies, and I'm saying grading companies in general, gives them leniency to grade inaccurately and get away with it. And then the other one lends itself more to the actual card itself as being hard to keep in good condition. And I've always felt like when people, especially people who create content and are opening up their boxes of PSA, they always look at a card and go, oh man, I thought this was going to gem, but these are really hard to grade. It's like, what? No, that doesn't make sense. It's hard to keep in good condition. And if you should have gotten a good grade on that one, then you should be upset that you didn't get the grade that you were supposed to get, or that you felt like you should have gotten.
Yeah.
And I just, it bothers the hell out of me that we kind of give grading companies the pass on the fact that, like my set, I just completed it. It was the Skybox. No, not Skybox. I just completed it like the other day, and I can't even Power in the Key set. You're familiar with that set. Full foil faces on the front. Super hard to keep in good condition because they chip like hell. And I got back 8s and I was pumped, So I don't know. I just think that the 90s inserts are probably the best. And if you can find them in a high grade, buy them.
Buy them. Yeah, I tell people the same thing with 99, 2000, 2001, like Topps Tiffany baseball sets, top sets, because the only way you get those if you buy them in sets. And if you buy a set of any of that stuff now, that's Ichiro, that's Pujols, that's Cabrera, they are 100% bricked. So you want to go snag the 10s now because there's going to be nearly it's impossible to get them now.
Well, 92, 93 Skybox Premium, which was Penny Hardaway's rookie year. I bought 2-3 boxes of that stuff. And I mean, just brick city. I mean, I was literally I'll never forget. I opened up one of those packs and it was literally like, craft singles where they like 3 or 4 of them like stuck together. That's what it looked like. And I was like, well, this is, and what do you know? Crack it open. And the one card that got completely peeled off was the card that I was looking for, which is Penny Hardaway in his draft.
Of course.
Oh, dude, I completely demoralized. I did not look at a basketball card for like 3 or 4 days. I'm like, I'm just not doing this to myself anymore. But that's the world we live in. Those of us that like that era, right? Because they used literally photo paper to print these cards with ink.
You're right.
Like, and stick them together, put them in humidity for a long time, stack them 3 or 4 pallets high. That's what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but hey, it's the world we live in. Hey, listen, we chose this life.
We chose this life.
We chose the retro life, and that's what we get for it.
Stick them in humidity, throw them in your attic or your basement, and then all of a sudden Ty comes along and his film crew, and he records them opening it.
Are you targeting specifically baseball or basketball? Are you just picking up what's on the channel, a little bit of everything, or are you just going strictly baseball?
Oh, it's everything. It's
Okay.
everything. Yeah, we're going to see. We're actually going to Denver in a couple weeks to see a really nice basketball collection, and a hockey collection, and it's going to be hilarious because I don't even think I can pronounce anybody but Gretzky's name.
When it comes to listen, I know this much about baseball, and about 90% of that baseball knowledge comes from the fact that I coach 7U baseball. Right, so I'm pretty. Hey, hockey, right there. Right over the top of my head. I know nothing. Somebody sent me a really nice package of what he said were really good rookies. Couldn't, I said thank you politely, put them all in top loaders, stuck them in a box somewhere. I have no idea what I have in there. Yeah. I could very well have the LeBron James of modern hockey and have no clue whatsoever. It's so bad, man. And as a collector, I want to get into more stuff, right? Which is now why I'm trying to get in a little bit more baseball.
Yeah.
Because my Astros, hopefully people are like, after this letter that came out that the Yankees were stealing signs too, maybe everybody backs off a little bit, probably not, but it is what it is.
Highly doubt it.
Yeah, highly doubt it. So, but luckily, I mean, I've been able to pick up stuff really cheap. So, we got some beasts on that team this year. So hopefully we'll start to crawl out of the abyss, but it's been fun, man. And I wish I could get into more sports. Are you just you're basketball, baseball mainly, right?
Basketball, baseball mainly, yeah. I mean, football just because I'm a Kansas City guy, right? I love the Chiefs, but football's such a hard hobby to be in.
Wait, but like legacy Kansas City Chiefs guys, or just like oh hey look, we got Patrick Mahomes. Let's.
No, I mean born and raised Kansas City, so it's like Royals and
there
Chiefs are in my blood for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean we see a Lenny Dawson, we pulled out, all that type of stuff for kids.
Dawson. Okay. All right. You threw out Lenny Dawson. I'll leave you alone. I always tell guys, I got a buddy of mine who's a huge Golden State fan.
Yeah.
Huge Golden State fan. And I tell him, hey, man, I don't want to hear anything out of your mouth about Golden State. You live in Houston, born and raised your entire life. I don't know why you're a Golden State fan. Until you can show me a Chris Mullin jersey or a Tim Hardaway jersey, don't talk to me about Steph Curry.
You're a poser.
Exactly. You're a poser. I can show you all of them. Listen, you want to know how much of a Houston Rockets fan I am? I will show you a Kelvin Cato jersey.
There you go.
Right? I will show you a Luis Scola jersey.
Wow.
I mean, that's where I am, right? I don't care. I'm trying to find a good Şengün jersey. I just can't get my hands on one. They're super expensive, and I'm not paying $150 for a jersey. They can keep that.
Who's the most underappreciated Rockets guy of all time?
Of all time?
Oof. Of all time. Like, who doesn't get enough love? Like, I gravitate towards like McGrady during his short stint.
Well, the problem with McGrady is that, McGrady put on that I mean, completely iconic 12 points in 30 seconds. I mean, that was massive. But McGrady got to the Rockets at the tail end of his career.
Right.
And that, barring health issues, that McGrady-Yao combination would have most definitely been a better version, in my opinion. And no disrespect to either one of them, of the Shaq and Kobe combo that was out there. Those guys were amazing on the floor together. As far as most underrated, that doesn't really get a whole lot of love, I think he's an underrated player in general, is Robert Horry.
Yeah.
Big Shot Bob is one of my most favorite players to talk about, period. I mean, the guy's got, 7 or 8 rings?
Yeah.
2 of them came from the Rockets. 2 of them came from the Spurs. 2 of them came from I mean, this guy went everywhere, and he was on championship teams. But he wasn't a slouch. I mean, they call him Big Shot Bob for a reason, because he was clutch. I mean, literally, when you put him in a stressful situation, his heart rate goes down, and he nails the shot whenever you need it. And I think he's the most underrated. He had some really big games that were key, pivotal games in both of those championship runs. Also, Mario Ellie. We literally celebrate the kiss of death. I don't know if you remember that, when he buried the 3 in the corner to send the Phoenix Suns home in what would have been an elimination game. And then after he buried the 3, he kind of did one of those. We call it the kiss of death around here. It's celebrated literally on the anniversary every year. I try to go to that Rockets game. So that's another one that's a highly underrated, undervalued. Doesn't really get a whole lot of hype, a lot of talk. Obviously, Elijah one is the one that kind of takes all the gravitational pull of the and him and Clyde Drexler and those that guys. But yeah, definitely Robert Dory, definitely Mario Ellie, for sure. The 2 kind of most underrated players in my opinion.
Okay.
But that entire squad was just, I mean, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Cassell comes to mind as like the guy for a while.
Yeah.
Everyone hated him outside of the Rockets world.
He was the modern day Beverly, Patrick Beverly.
That's the perfect analogy. Yep.
He was a menace, an absolute menace. People hated him. So was what was the other guy? Not Rick Fox. What was his name? The guy that was on the Lakers, kind of short, stocky. I forget his name. We traded for him. We traded him for like 1 day, and then we cut him. Like he quit. Like literally, he quit because he hates the Rock. He hates Houston so much. Not Rick Fox.
It's gonna annoy me.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Bald-headed, kind of. He's a black guy, but kind of light-skinned, but bald-headed, kind of stocky. He was a menace, an absolute menace.
Yeah, it'll come to us.
Yeah, it'll come. But anyway, yeah, but it's yeah, that's kind of what when I'm in the antique malls and I'm doing all this stuff here in Houston, that's what I'm chasing. Anything Rockets, anything. I mean, I got a piece of the Summit floor. Literally bought a piece of the floor off the Summit.
That is awesome. Is it autographed or anything, or is it just
no? It's not. And what I want to do is Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, all the championship guys. They always do signing shows here, whether they're free or whether they're you go to a card show, you buy your tickets and all that stuff. It's my goal to get to start going to those more often because I realize that they're not just autograph shows; they're also card shows. So I'm gonna start going a lot more of those. And getting this filled up with because it's an authentic piece of the floor. I just need to start getting some signatures on it. But
yeah, I mean, especially with guys like in that era starting to pass away, to go get a piece like that autographed, you want to do it soon because you just never know.
You just never know.
Crooks,
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. Actually, thanks for reminding me how old I am.
We didn't have to remind you.
Shit. Well, no, I don't. Look, I mean, it's all right here. It's everything.
While I've been watching you, I've seen a couple of hairs turn gray. Like it's happening.
Literally,
so
like
fast.
right now. You know why? Because it's 10 o'clock and I can hear my kids wrestling downstairs. That's where it is. I know
that's
what it is.
That's totally it.
Hey man, I want to ask you a couple more questions because you did this to me on your show.
Oh no.
And now I'm going to do it to you on my show. 2 questions that we're going to close it out with. 2 fun questions. I can't remember what you asked me. I think you asked me something about movies or something. Anyway, well, I'll go back and figure out. But I have 2 really good ones because I was thinking about this. I said, if I ever have Ty on the show, I'm going to ask him 2 really good questions. First question, most useless talent that you possess.
The most useless talent
that you possess.
That I possess. Oh my gosh, what a question.
Right? Thank you. Actually, you can thank Google, but
Oh, yeah.
I won't take full credit for that one. I'll take full credit for the other one, but not this one.
I would say I'm a really good thumb wrestler. And it annoys my family because they can never beat me. It doesn't matter how big their hands are. Like I just destroy people at.
Oh my God. That's
yeah. Yeah. A funny story. So I was showing my son, we were watching a movie this weekend you remember Over the Top?
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone.
Of course.
He's got that move. It's a classic family film. Go back and watch it. He's got that move where he moves his thumb over,
Yep.
and that's when he crushes
That's when
people.
Bam.
My kids know, like, when I'm arm wrestling, that's it. It's like snake bit, thumb over, done.
Oh my God. Literally a movie about arm wrestling.
And it's great.
You know what? Have you ever seen those prompts where they say, tell the plot of a story, tell the plot of a movie in a very bad way? That would be, you'd think Over the Top. You're like, oh, Sylvester Stallone, movie called Over the Top from the 80s, machine guns, blah, blah, blah. No, it's literally about arm wrestling.
Yeah. And
Literally
there's so
about
many
him.
scenes where it's like just him washing his body and like flexing. It's like Michael Landon in like Little House on the Prairie, right? The dude, you think it's about Laura Ingalls Wilder. It's about Michael Landon with his shirt off. That's what that story is about.
All right. Last one, and we'll close with this one. This one should be good. You're about to get into a fight.
Okay.
All right. About to get into a fight. What song is playing in the background as you're about to throw hands?
Your body is a wonderland. Your body is a wonderland, John Mayer.
You know what? That'll piss me off too. That'll get me all riled up, ready to just beat somebody. Your body is a wonderland. I thought we were for sure. I think last time you told me you were a rock guy. I thought for sure you were gonna go Metallica or something like that. No, body is a wonderland. I'll tell you what. If anything, it'll completely throw your opponent off. 100%. 100%. You guys gonna be like, "What is this going?" And then wham,
just done.
You just land the first blow, and it's all done.
Oh my God,
Ty, you're the man, brother. I appreciate you coming on, man. Man, I just can't wait to see what this project that you guys going on turns into, man.
Thank you.
I wish you the absolute best on that. I'm gonna start pushing it wherever I can. I'll those of you watching, I'll leave all the links in the description. It's got his own channel, correct?
Yeah. Type in Chasing Cardboard and you'll see it.
Chasing Cardboard on YouTube. I'll put all the links in the description and put all the links to Bench Clear Media, Breaker Culture, all that stuff down below. Ty, thank you, man, for coming on. I appreciate it, brother. And you always know you got my number. Anything that I can do to help you guys out, man, give me a shout.
I appreciate you. And I'm the biggest Retro Hoops Omar fan on the planet. So,
man, I appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Ty.
Yeah.